within the big Penguin Random House machine, getting to carry forward that series of a kid's book about books, as well as new books and new series.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Can you tell us, how this sale came about? Because one of the most common questions we get is people interested in selling their companies.
People want to be part of a larger apparatus, not, for all kinds of reasons.
Yeah.
People are like, I want I want greater stability, I'm having trouble, or, I just want coworkers.
Yeah, more resources, all those sorts of things.
Mm-hmm. Hi, I'm Joe Beal, the founder and CEO of Microcosm Publishing. I'm also the author of A People's Guide to Publishing, which distills what I've learned from selling millions of books over the past 28 years.
I'm Elly Blue, the Vice President of Microcosm. We started this podcast to share what we've learned with newer publishers, so you can learn from our mistakes. Or maybe you just want to learn about the publishing industry.
This week, we bring special guest Jelani Memory of A Kids Co. to talk about, you see what I did there? What you can do selling your press. Jelani, who are you and why are you important in publishing?
My name's Jelani Memory, born and raised here in Portland, Oregon, and my publishing journey and role is really strange. I founded a company called A Kids Co. about 6 years ago that makes challenging, empowering, and important books for kids. And I have recently sold the publishing business to DK, where I'm now a VP and publisher, a very fancy title.
Yes.
For us, it came about, I think first and foremost, because we had made something sort of new, novel, and different. So if anybody wants the best advice I have is make something that the rest of the publishing industry either isn't making or is too afraid to make or doesn't seem like it makes economic sense to do, and prove it out. Lots of folks want to buy a proven quantity, and we had created a series of books, 200 plus titles on topics that basically were untouchable for the children's book industry. So while you've got really wonderful books about penguins and dragons and bears and all that sorts of stuff, which is great, and I read those to my kids, we were making books about cancer and Alzheimer's and death and racism and anti-Asian hate and, and for 5, 6, and 7-year-olds. And so for us, it was really about kind of being mission first and going, what are the most important stories that we can tell kids? How do we treat kids like they're smart? How do we talk up to them and not down to them? Mm-hmm. And how do we respect their thoughts, feelings, and experiences? And so we made books from first-person stories and experiences towards that end. And look, the rest of the publishing industry took notice because we were doing pretty well sales-wise, mostly direct consumer in the early days, and it was hard to ignore. And so we got lots of early offers around folks being distributors for us or licensing and a handful of other stuff. We said no a lot in the early days. So I was like, I like what we're doing and we're doing well, and we kind of don't need a bunch of other sort of stuff to get in the way. Mm-hmm. But, as the business grew and we got further in, I realized, some of these problems that we were facing were just sort of old and tired problems that the publishing industry had fixed a long time ago. And so we thought, gosh, would it make sense to plug this brand and this series and this team into a larger institution, continue to do what we do, but have greater access to resources, infrastructure, distribution, sales, all those good things. And we found ourselves chatting with the folks at DK, who are lovely and wonderful. And I felt we're playing at the brand level that we were playing at from a publishing perspective. They were going 50 years strong, really respected explaining big ideas to kids. And so we thought, this is a good home for us. So it took a while to negotiate to get all the sort of T's crossed and I's dotted, but
How long did it take?
10 months.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Okay. So did you come through a brokerage, or like how did they find you, or you find them?
You know, it was initially a cold email that led to a licensing discussion. And so that first foray into working together was actually through letting them license about, I think, 20 or 30 of our titles.
Was the cold email from you or from them?
It was from them.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, there's a great Steve Martin quote, like, be so good they can't ignore you. And so that's been a bit of my motto building the business. And true to form, lots of folks reached out who wanted to come and play with us in our little sandbox.
Wow.
So, yeah, hard-fought deal, but really proud of it coming through.
So, like, in retrospect, is there anything you would have done differently at any stage, or like, what is there any part that is unexpected, like better than you expected, or different than you expected?
In terms of selling the business, or just the business in general?
In terms of selling.
No, I would have done it exactly the way that we did it. I mean, my priorities were pretty clear, and I communicated this to my board, I communicated this to my team, and I communicated this to DK. That said, first and foremost, that the brand is what comes first, these stories. I don't want anybody muddling with these stories. We want to get to keep doing what we're doing. The second is the team. I want to do right by my team and make sure that folks have really good and solid roles. And then the third is I want a creative playground to come play in. And like, you know, I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years. I don't want to be like caught in a bunch of bureaucracy. And we were able to structure a really unique deal to sort of get to keep all those things, as well as a bunch of other great things. My company at Kids Co is still intact. So that was sort of a unique outcome of the deal. So I kind of straddle back and forth a little bit, spend most of my time at DK, but a little bit of time back over on the board and a little bit in ops with a Kids Co.
Nice.
Wow. Okay. I mean, and that's a good inspirational story, because we had a lot of publishers coming to us during the pandemic that were like, how do I sell my company?
Yeah.
Like, we're starting to fall into, hard times just because distribution was getting tougher,
Yep.
or, inventory management was getting tougher. And yeah, it seems like and the thing I always told them was, I was like, well, get your house in order and then you may not want to sell. Like you probably need to fix these problems to sell or not to sell. But you were in a more unique situation where like everything was in order. You needed actually like legacy solutions, and you had innovative solutions that you brought to the table.
Yeah. Look, yes and no. We ran into all the problems that I'm sure everybody else ran into. It's just like, damn, we have too much inventory of that book. Like, what the hell do we do to that? And I have like a no pulping policy. So I was like, these books need to go to good homes.
Yes.
If we can sell them, great. If we can give them away, that's okay. But like, we can't let them sit in the warehouse. But we have to figure out solutions here. Mm-hmm. And cash is always an issue, trying to keep on people and all those good things. So it wasn't perfect, but like you have to kind of be like a cockroach and just be unkillable and just kind of survive through anything. That doesn't mean be unethical or do bad things or treat people wrongly. It just means like it doesn't matter if the business is dead, so you got to keep the business alive if you want to keep getting to do really good creative work.
I love that. I mean, I frequently compare myself to a cockroach, and our executives tell me not to. But that is my motto as well, because it's like the world was not built to like for a small business to survive.
Yeah.
And so you have to be the cockroach in that scenario. But I would also like to point out you have done better marketing for my book, People's Guide to Publishing, than I have. And so how was that formative in your development?
Massively so. It's why I feel so much pride and joy getting to talk about it all the time, because I walked into the publishing industry having a huge love of books, but having no idea how they got made or how they got sold or any of those bits and pieces. And I literally like Googled like how to start independent publisher, and your SEO is just like spot on. I think the book came out like that week, and so I read it cover to cover. Yeah, it was perfect.
Wow. That's wow, what luck for both of us.
For both of us. And to me, it was this great crash course in going, how do I take everything that is new and novel and different that I didn't know about publishing that I think is worthwhile? And then how do I jettison those things that just don't make sense, that maybe have been around for 100 years, but you sort of go, is this helping anybody, or actually is it just hurting a bunch of folks? And to me, I think that there were two decisions that were really fundamental to our success early on. One was being direct to consumer, just owning those customer relationships, owning all that revenue, not being beholden to anybody else's sales or distribution, or even through that we didn't do returnables. So it was like, hey, if you buy the book, you bought the book. We're not doing any returnables.
Yeah.
And
That's huge.
Yeah, and then the second was our creative process for making books. I wanted to create something that was hyper inclusive, and so our wacky one-day workshop model process to write and create these books that really anybody could be a part of, as long as they're bringing their whole self and their authentic story.
I love that. We're actually going to talk about that in the next episode, so tune back in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thanks for joining us once again.
Please send your questions to podcast@microcosmpublishing.com so we can answer them on future episodes.
And please give us 5 stars on iTunes and everywhere else that podcasts are reviewed.
You can find us on the internet at microcosm.pub,
On Twitter at microcosm,
on Facebook at Microcosm Publishing,
on Instagram at microcosm_pub.
and here in Portland, Oregon on North Williams Avenue.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful week.